Okay, at a push day today with rings. I used a weight belt with some weights. I think I threw a little speech in there about something or other. Holy fucking shit, it was hard. I underestimated it completely. You know, there's a type of hypertrophy called hyperplasia. Hyperplasia is just where there is a stress placed on your cells. Not like a workload stress, but some other stress stimulus like stretching, and it causes more cells to proliferate. More cells are made. There are programs in place that when certain conditions are met, more cells are made. Not larger cells, but more. And the rings have this built in. It has it built right in. Having to stabilize yourself because the rings are so unstable, having to stabilize yourself, all that shaking and whatnot, it ends up lending to some of that hyperplasia. And so that's why I love it. I think it is an important part of my hypertrophic journey. And so it is definitely stable, definitely rotated in, and it is fairly intense. I don't know what I am going to be able to do today, but I'm definitely excited to see the results after. So, hyperplasia. Look into it. So not just larger cells, more cells that can ultimately grow larger through hypertrophy. There are 3 types of hypertrophy, and hyperplasia is just one of them. The goal here is to get as many meaningful reps as possible, and then get into eccentric failure, I would say eccentric failure, as far as the rings are concerned, eccentric failure is just only accentuated by it. Yeah, so why I love the rings is hyperplasia. It's built in. And so what that means for me is scaffolding. Imagine your body has scaffolding and you build muscle on that scaffolding. Well, having the stretch stimulus literally gives you more scaffolding, more cells to grow larger, you know, and also connective tissue, which is really important to strengthen. Connective tissue is so important to strengthen. It's what keeps you from tearing things. Anyway, I'm setting up for heavy dips. I have no idea what that's going to look like, but we're going to see. First thing was weighted dips. Okay. You know, I think before I get started, it's important for me to note something. As I'm loading this weight up, I'm thinking to myself, you know, it feels good to add weight, right? It feels good to put more poundage on here, but I have to remember that my goal is hypertrophy. And so the ego is great because it's what makes me want to put more poundage on here, but it's also a potential pitfall where I can get more wrapped up in putting more poundage on than following my mission of hypertrophy, which is growing the muscle. Growing the muscle. I want to grow the muscle, right? And so your body doesn't have like this internal rep counter. You know, it doesn't necessarily care how many reps you put in. The intensity has to be there. And so I have to make sure that when I'm loading weight on here, that I'm not loading too much to where I'm not getting that hypertrophic response, which is what I'm looking for. And I know that feeling, and I know when I've done too much, and you know, I just wanted to say that. If you're ever finding yourself just putting weights, adding more weight on there and you're not seeing a lot of change, maybe it's time to check your ego at the door. I have to do it all the time. Like even now, I got just a little bit less than what I'd like, but I need that hypertrophic event to be there. I need that stretch stimulus to be there. So I just want to talk about what just happened there. It was way too much weight. But what did I do is I just jumped and I let myself feel that stretch as I was coming down. Especially there at the bottom. I could feel it. I could really feel it. But case in point, you know, I have to figure out what's going to make my muscles grow, not what feels good to put on, you know. Because if I'm not getting the reps in, if I'm not getting that stimulus, I can't move forward with it. I gotta back it down, leave my ego at the door. And then, without thinking about it, I did lateral raises with the rings, body weight. That shit was crazy. The stretch on all these exercises is what makes rings so special. It's so fucking special, okay? It's so special. Anyway. Where I feel it is like where I feel in the lateral raise, but ooh, that bottom part. Really feeling that stretch as it comes behind me. You know, I love it. Hell yeah. Basically, I don't have to put any weight. Depending on how far bent over I am, you know, I can kind of direct where I feel it, and where I'm feeling it the most now is directly down the center. What was the next thing? Fucking tricep push-ups. So I opted for push-ups to be a little different than tricep extensions last time. Underestimated those two. Holy shit, very hard. Damn, I am feeling that all across the whole tricep. The whole thing just feels mega worked. This last deal is ab rollouts. Work for the core, and yeah, I like to do a little hyperextension, if you know what I mean. Hyperflexion, hyperextension, I don't know. Both. I'm doing both, basically. The last thing was the ab rollouts. I played with an angle that did serious work. And yeah, it was very humbling. And the weights I have to use on the rings are much lighter than all the other stable stuff. So it's definitely an ego check, having to drop all the weights just so I could get what I need out of it. Because at the end of the day, hypertrophy isn't a beautiful thing. It's an ugly thing. It's an ugly process. And progress, it isn't, you know, this linear upward thing. It's a roller coaster. You go up, you go down, you go back, you go forward. Sometimes you stop. You know, a lot of it's yada yada, but progress is not a linear upward climb. Anyway, I love it regardless. I love how it makes me feel afterward. I love having it over with more than anything else. And hypertrophy gets to be what I want it to be. I'm finding the things that work, and all these different little exercises, they have their own little unique challenges. Rings are one of them. I just love it. You know, I love to hate it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. This is all for me, anyway. This is all for me. This is part of my journey, and I appreciate everybody who watches. I'm appreciative of all that. But this is for me, and so this is my journey. I love it. And I'm glad for those who are a part of it as well. I'm glad for your support. I thank you too. I am noticing changes. I'm getting bigger. I'm getting stronger. Anyway, I wish you all well. I will see you soon. And here